Okay, thank you for joining me out there. We're going to get in here, and you can see the topics here. And this is somebody requested this, and I think this is a really good topic because the pen tool is sort of related to paths. And if you can see over here, a lot of you guys who are doing compositing work are all over here in this layers window all the time. And some of you have a decent idea probably what channels are, and we're going to talk about that if you don't. And a lot of you out there probably have no idea what a path is, and in some ways I feel like they're related to channels. So this is going to be a nice little thing, if nothing else, just so you can get a little better understanding of what all these tabs are when you get into Photoshop. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover how to use the pen tool and sort of how to use make curved lines and stuff like that. But we're going to do it pretty quickly because I know couple people were asking about all this stuff, and they were saying, I like these quick lessons. And I sort of do too. Okay, so let's just get in here. And the first thing I'll note, I just put this up here as a cheat sheet, but we might as well work off of here. So let me just get the pen tool, and you do that by pressing P, okay, on your keyboard. Just press P, and I have the pen tool now. And I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit so you can see maybe more of that and less of my writing. But when you click with a pen tool, that leaves what's called an anchor point. And it's really nice. If you want to make another point, you just click again, okay? And you have at this point what's called a path. And a path is a little bit of a sort of, it has a lot of mystique to it, okay? At paths, I think for this lesson, what we're going to say about paths, because you don't need to understand paths to be a real estate photographer. That's why I'm not going to delve deeply into it. Not that I know everything about them, but the thing about paths is they're just a line in Photoshop, and you basically can't see it anywhere else. So you could never see this stuff I'm doing anywhere else. It's just sort of a guide to help guide you and to make selections and to do a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today in Photoshop, okay? So nothing about a path will ever show up in one of your photos, but once again, they are sort of related to the channels here, and we're going to get into that. So we covered what is a path a little bit, but we're going to talk more about that. The next thing I want to cover is if you get in here and you have the pen tool and you're just learning it, well, how the heck, I make a mistake, right? And I don't know what's going on. How the heck do I get out of here, right? What I want to start over. And that was the first thing, because I feel like you guys out there who are wanting to practice with the pen tool, this might be a hang up for you. Like, I can't start over. Well, the way I've always done it, if there's another way, I'd happily receive that in the comments. I press escape, and it gets you to that point where all your anchor points go away. And then you press escape again, and you're sort of starting over. So you just reset, okay? You just reset. So when you're doing your practicing, go ahead and keep that in mind, okay? Just, you can press escape and then escape again. I'll do it one more time just so you can see. I'll go ahead and make a little shape there. I'm pressing escape once, and now I'm pressing it again. I'm started over, okay? So that's deleting and starting over. How do we do that? Well, that's how we did it, okay? The next topic here is I want to address the polygonal lasso tool up here. And what I'm going to do right now, just in case everything's going haywire, I'm going to check if there's anybody out there listening and he's saying work. So that's great. That's what I needed. I was going to request that somebody do that. Okay, thank you for that. I was trying to do everything myself, and it doesn't really work out that way. Sometimes you need a little help. Okay, so the point we were on was, command or control. So we're going to try and simulate the polygonal lasso tool. So I want to just address the polygonal lasso tool. I just got it up here. I believe you can press L on your keyboard for that. And it's really nice because you press once, and then you don't even have to hold down, and it gives you that guide right there. But we're going to sort of tell you why the pen tool is just as cool as this. This might be one of the reasons why some of you say this is cooler. And I'm going to sort of say the pen tool is better in all regards, but this is nice, I'll admit. So once again, I'm just pressing once with this tool, and it's giving me that line. That's really helpful in real estate photography when we're selecting around a window and stuff like that. So I'm going to get out of there, and I'm going to show you that if I get the pen tool again, when I click once, I've left that anchor point there, and if I'm trying to select around a window, look at that. I'd like to see that line, right? But if I press again over here, all I have to do actually is hold down Command, and I can go ahead and adjust that line however I want, okay? And this also works if you have multiple anchor points and you go ahead and hold down Command, and then you can adjust your anchor points like that, okay? And you can put them anywhere you want. Okay, so it's a lot more editable than the polygonal lasso tool. I feel like it's a lot more forgiving. And then the one more thing that the polygonal lasso tool does, and we're going to touch on this later, but it allows you to get a 1 pixel feather automatically, and that's really valuable for us to get a 1 pixel feather in something like this. But we're sort of going to touch on that later, where we're going to write an action for the pen tool where it can kind of try and compete with the polygonal lasso tool. Okay, so stay tuned for that for sure. Okay, so I'm just going to deselect that by pressing Command or Control D, and I'm going to once again press Escape twice to get rid of. You have to have the pen tool selected, and Escape twice to get starting over. Okay, so a lot of you guys out there are, of course, selecting around windows. You have to make little selections, or I know you have to make selections from time to time. And so the way you make a selection with the pen tool is, first of all, you're making a path right now. So the first time you make 2 points, you've made a path. So that's a path. And if this was a window right here, we would just be coming around and making our path. And you can go ahead and close it off. You see that little loop right there? It's a little circle. That means we're in the right spot. We're going to close it off. And all you have to do is hold down Command and hit Return. And that's going to make a selection for you. Okay, you could see that. Go ahead and change. And we're going to explore this a lot more. But I would say that's the most utilitarian way to do stuff, is just to go ahead. And once again, I'll go in reverse there. You made your path, your closed path, and you're going to go ahead and hold down Command or Control. Command on a Mac, and Command, I forget. Command or I forget on Windows. You guys can remind me. Command on a Mac and hit Return, and once again, that'll give you the selection. Okay. Yeah, we're sort of skipping through this, but we're going to get in there and get in more detail and see really what's going on with all this stuff behind the scenes later on. Okay, so we're going to, I really encourage you to stay tuned for that, because it's really interesting stuff, and it's sort of how Photoshop historically worked. Okay, people had to deal with these channels and paths in the past, but we don't really have to deal with them nowadays, because we have a lot more cool little tools that make things easier for us. So we learned how to make a selection. And we did already kind of cover this, the pen versus the polygonal lasso tool, and I feel like the pen is winning, although it was cool that the polygonal lasso tool can do those little 1 pixel feathers by setting it up here. It's already 1 pixel feather because I have that set up here, right here. Okay, so we're going to try and compete with the polygonal lasso tool here. We're going to use the pen tool, and we're going to come in here, and we're going to make just any old selection like we might be doing for around a window or whatever it might happen to be. We're going to once again make a marching ant selection now, because remember, this is a path. This is a little bit different than a selection. And you're going to hold Command and hit Return, and that's going to turn it into the marching ants, a selection. But we want to really easily be able to feather this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to delete this. This is my little test earlier. I'll go ahead and delete that. And we are going to make an action right now. So I'm going to go ahead and say new action. It's that little thing that looks like a paper. And I'm going to call this 1 pixel feather. And what we're doing right now, once again, we're trying to compete with the polygonal lasso tool. Does a couple things that are cooler than the pen, so we're trying to compete with that, okay? And I just feel like the pen's better, so we have to be better in all aspects. So our action is starting. You can see it's recording right there. So we're going to come up here to select, and we're going to modify and go ahead and go to feather. And this is really common. You might want to get a 0.5 pixel feather and then a 1 pixel feather. But our stuff is so crisp and clean. We're always in focus. So you never want one of your selections to be an exact straight line, because that really never happens in reality in terms of in a photo. So you always want to feather even our sharp photos by a pixel, or at least a half a pixel. So you never want an exactly straight line like that. So this is just a way to get a feather going. And so we got that feather. We wrote an action for that. And I want to note, you could actually get in here and go ahead and make this. You can go to action options, and you could actually make this 1 pixel feather action like an F key or something if you wanted to. But anyway, that's just something to look into. But at this point, we have that. We'll just go ahead and make a new one. But we're going to make a new selection here, and we're going to go ahead and hold down Command and hit Enter. That was our path, right? We've got a path here. We're going to change it into a selection. And if we run this action now, you're not going to be able to see it very well, but that's going to put a 1 pixel feather on that. So that would be a really easy way to do that. Okay, so it just put that 1 pixel feather. You could see it right there, and you could see it right here. Probably it says radius 1 pixel. Okay, so anyway, that was a fun way to just sort of try and outdo the polygonal lasso tool. I think we did that. I think we accomplished that. So we feathered our selection with an action. Once again, I think that's a cool way to get in there and do that. Don't forget, a lot of times we have like little railings and stuff. We might want to get in here and select stuff like this. And with the pen tool, we can go ahead and do that. Okay. And if you're not seeing what I'm talking about, maybe there's like a railing on the outside and it has a lot of slats, and you have to, for some reason, select between them. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, just sometimes you got to select stuff because your lighting, maybe you want to control the exposure, but you don't want to change the actual metal that in this situation we're talking about here of the railing. So you might have to get in there and select each railing, each bit that is showing through. So it's going to look something like this. This is a total hack job. But the point I wanted to make here is you can make multiple closed off selections and go ahead and hold down Command and hit Enter, and that'll give you those multiple closed selections. Okay, that's something very valuable, so don't forget that. I'll do that one more time. Just another example. Don't forget, you can make multiple, as many as you want, shapes or anything, and they're paths right now, right? But we're going to turn those into selections just by holding down Command and hitting Enter, and they're all marching ant selections now, so you can do it multiple times. Okay, so curved lines. Now I'm going to get in here and we're going to make some new document because I've been working over here. So we'll go ahead and make a new document. We want it to be white in the background, and this is looking good. We might make it for something like this. Alright, so let's just get that in there, and we'll move that over a little bit. Okay, so the curved lines. Now, when you make selections for yourself in real estate photography, there's really only a couple things you're going to have to do, and one of them is going around windows, and that's really easy. You usually just get straight lines, and that works, okay? But let me get out of there. Let me turn this to a. All right, you're gonna want to have. You're gonna need to have to do curved lines sometimes. So whether it be around a couch or whatever it happens to be, a chair, how do you do that? So we know how to click and then click again and make a straight line, but how do we make a curved line? So I'm just going to click again over here, but I'm going to hold down, and you see that I'm holding down, and I can control this really well, okay? If that was the arm of a couch or something, I can make a nice little curved line right there. And you're usually not going to have to deal with this too much, and if you do, I would just make little curves. Try not to go too far on the couch because there's going to be multiple curves, right? And so you're just going to want to do this in short durations and one piece at a time. And the key is, if you go ahead and click again, like let's say your couch sort of straightens out right here, and you just want to click over here. See, that was a problem because the couch wasn't curved down like that. But this is, I believe they're called control arms. we really don't want that sticking out there like that, because we wanted to make a curved line here, we want to make a straight line here. So we're going to hold down Alt or Option and just click right there, and now we've gotten rid of that control arm. We can go ahead and make a straight line now. Okay, and if we wanted to make another curved line here, because the couch would say coming down, we would go ahead and make that curved line again by holding down. And then if we had to make another straight line again, don't forget, hold down Alt or Option and click right on that anchor point, and that arm that's going to really screw you up if you click again out here is going to go away. Okay, so you might have to watch that a couple times and just go back, but that's really the way to control. And with those 2 tools or 3 tools that you've seen so far, you can go ahead and hold down Alt or Option, or what is it, Command. You can go ahead and move these points. With these few tools that you've already seen, just being able to make a curved line by clicking and holding down, and go ahead and make that curved line however you need to, and holding down Alt or Option and clicking that and getting rid of that control arm, and being able to make straight lines after you've made your curved line, and also that thing you've seen of holding down Alt or Option and or it was Command, excuse me, and going ahead and moving your control points. Doing those 2 things is really going to get you a long way, all the way I'd say, in architectural photography. You really don't need much more tools than that, or an understanding of these control arms, because they're really quite confusing. All you need to understand is how to get rid of that thing after you've made a curved line. Okay, let me get back over to my little cheat sheet. I'm losing, I don't want this one, but we'll have to remember the second one is nothing. Okay, so curved lines. I wanted to cover saving paths and paths themselves, because this is something that's sort of, I think it's good that you guys have an understanding of the paths. Once again, over here we have the channels, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but next to the channels we have this thing called paths. Okay, and let me go back to that new document. I think it was 3. Okay, let me just clear this out. Let me see, get out here. Actually, what I'm going to do is go ahead and get a new document. This is going to get confusing, huh? And that should do good. Okay, so that'll just start us over. That's where we want to be. Okay, so we're over in paths, and as you can see, we have channels because our document is made up of our red, green, and blue channels. That's what we see, and the channels are just each individual channel, red, green, and blue, but we're not going to delve into that too much. But look at this, there's nothing over there in the paths, right? That's sort of interesting. So we have this, the pen tool now, and if you'll watch that, this is a little weird sized document, but if you watch that paths palette over there, you can see as I click along here, we're starting to get something. All right, we're starting to get, you can see it's actually closing itself off in the white over there, if you can see that. Okay, and I'll make this shape really recognizable just so hopefully you can see that over there. I know I don't have many controls. That's why I was having trouble with the stream earlier. I was trying to do too much. But yeah, you can see that right there. And now, if you watch what will happen, now I thought this had happened, but it seemed like a minute ago it didn't. If I start to make another one, if I go ahead and make another one, let's see what happens. It made 2. Okay, so I think what I was getting at there is I'm going to go ahead and get out of these and press the escape, as you guys know, and we're going to see what happens. See, it did stay there, but watch what happens if I start to make a new one. See, they're gone, okay? So this is one of the things I really want you to remember. Now, we just lost that big W we made before, right? So to save a path, and this is really valuable, it really is. Now, I was sort of going in before and telling you we do have tools to where you don't have to get in there and deal with this stuff, but I think it's a really valuable thing to understand what's going on. So that's why we're going to get in here and understand this right now. So I just made this really recognizable shape, and let's say I took 2 hours to make that selection. Now over here we have that, okay? We have it there. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this and just name it my weird U shape. All right. And so now what we saw before was if I started a new one, everything would disappear and it would just be on that sort of temporary path layer right now. But watch, since I renamed that, you see there's a new one over there. So we can save our paths just by what I just did, okay? Just by that thing I just did, we can save that forever. Now, what people normally do in Photoshop is they go ahead and they make a selection by, I have a path right now, they hold down Command and they hit return, and they go ahead and go up here, and this is sort of the easy way to do it, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, but they say save selection under the select. But I feel like we're gonna go ahead and once again name this our weird U shape, but we'll name it just to make sure, we'll name it, it's our save selection one. So that was the way we did that time. Okay, we saved the selection, and if you ever need that again, if you lose it, you can go ahead and come back up there and load that in. Okay, you can load it. So weird, that was the save selection. But I just think it's cooler, and I think you have a better understanding of Photoshop if you forget all that and you come over here and you use your paths. You don't even have to scroll down the menu, right? Think about it. There's a little bit more work here. You have to go down there and do that. If you come over here, and we're going to try and explain this again, we're going to make a new path again, and this is going to be the same thing as that saving selection is what I'm getting at. And once again, this is what people had to do years ago because they had a better understanding of Photoshop, and this is just how Photoshop worked with paths and channels, and they just understood it better. But now we kind of gotten to this point where they have those cool tools for us. It allows us not to understand, which I think is bad. So I just made this selection. It's sort of a weird one, and I'm going to go ahead and double click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and name this the weird W shape. but the cool way of saving in paths, okay? It's the cool way. Okay, so we pretty much have the same thing we just did up here, but it's a path, and whenever we want that's gonna stay there. Remember, if I made a new one, if I maybe escape from here, remember, if I made a new one, see, that one's staying there. We always have that. If we come back out to our layers out here, we always have that. And guess what, when we come back out here, we can go ahead and select once again our weird W shape, the cool way of saving it. Guess what I can do? I can hold down, I think it's Command and click. Let me try it, Command and click, and look at that. I got the selection, the marching ants. So that's a much cooler way than going up and saving up there. Okay, this is getting kind of long, but I really like people that have a better understanding of Photoshop, even when myself when I have an understanding of it. So this is cool. This is cool information. Okay, this is really what's going on. And another thing I'll touch on here, if you notice, this might start to get confusing, but if you notice, when we save that selection this way, we said save selection, we went ahead and saved that. Photoshop is using the channels to do that. Okay, it's saving it as a selection in the channels. So that's why I say the old way, this was sort of the old way of doing stuff. People just had to save a channel that was their selection, right? And they'd know how to save it in there. So that was all that happened when we went and we said save selection. It saved it within the channels. Okay, let's get in there and try something else. I want to sort of reset here. So let me get in here. I want to kind of reset all this. Well, actually, what I might do is I don't want to close. Let's see, close that one. Don't save. I just feel like resetting because especially my processing powers gets low. So I don't want to lose that one. Still going with that one. This one, I'll go ahead and close. Okay, so we're just sort of going to reset. That's it. That's all that's happening. I'm going to make a new one. I kind of felt like that 4x3 was looking better. Okay, and we'll grab this. We'll just zoom in a little. Alright, so we got rid of everything. So I want to sort of review this. So we're going to make another path, and we're going to try and make it a recognizable shape, a new shape. So kind of like a stop sign. You can see it right there, yeah? Now, I want this I want to save this, so I'm just gonna double click it and say my weird octagon in paths. Okay. Now all I have to do, I have that there. All I have to do is hold down Command and I can get the selection. Okay. Now we're gonna go over to channels, and what we want to do, actually, what I'll do it this way. So we're in channels right now, right? We're gonna come up here and we're just doing an alternate way right now. I'm gonna show you that once again. I'm gonna save selection. We covered this topic, and this is, we're saving the octagon in on menu, or we'll just call it on the menu. Okay, so once again, it's pretty much the same thing. See, I'm gonna deselect, and if I lose that, so I'm just showing you multiple ways to do it. Okay, so if I hold down, I have that's showing me just the mask, so we don't want to see that. Okay, we want it like that. If I hold down Command and I click on there, see, it's going to give me that back. So I think these are cooler ways than loading selection, but just keep in mind it's the same thing. Okay, so I have that selection here, I have it in channels, so it's cool, isn't it? You can do it in all the ways you want, whatever way is most convenient. But I really think it tends to be more convenient just to get in here and click these tabs up here rather than going up there and saving that, and it gives you a little bit better understanding of Photoshop. Okay, so that was a little long-winded, but we're gonna get in here and see our next point, because I forget. So we covered saving selections. I think you saw how to do that. That was sort of the way to come in here in the select menu. Saving paths, so we covered how to do that over in the paths tab up there. So path to channel via save selection. What is that? Let me think. What am I saying there? Yeah, we did that. So we can make a path to a channel via save selection. And we talked a lot about this, right? This is pretty much the way Photoshop has operated forever, on black and white and mask and stuff. So this is how stuff works in Photoshop, on these channels and paths. Okay, and it's interesting. Masks are black and white, right? So it all starts to add up. Okay. What we didn't cover yet, and I'm glad I have this little cheat sheet, is path tools. So let's go back over there, because I really want to convince you guys that this is the place you should be going. So we save that. So what it's going to do, if we let's see, we had that right. Yeah, I'm getting a little wow, it's strange to me. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and deselect this, and we're going to make a new one. Try and make it a different shape, just so we know what's going on. Okay, so we have a new path, and I just forgot the path tools, that's right. And so we just made a new path here, right? We just made a new one. So check this out. We come down here, and let me see why that is. I'm not sure why that is. Let me see. Let me get rid of that. Because I don't know why that is. All right, maybe that's probably why. Let's see. Alright, these live videos, you gotta love it, really. I'm serious. You gotta love these live ones. Let me get rid of that. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe come out here. Maybe the background layer. Maybe that's it. Okay, let me get a new layer. Fill it with white. Something went wrong there, and it's making me look bad, but we're gonna go back. Okay, so we're gonna get the pen tool back, and I was at this point a minute ago, and it looks like it was because we're on the background layer. Okay, so we're gonna get a really recognizable shape. We just made a new path. Okay, a new closed path. We have these cool tools down here. These are much different if you're over here on the layers tab. Yeah, well, in the paths, you got a much different set of tools here. So what does this one do? The nice thing is they tell you what they do right there. Fill path with background color. So that's black. Okay. So it's going to go ahead and fill the path with the background color, okay? Let me see, actually. Let me go ahead and go out here. Should've. I love the live stuff, I really do. So let me swap that. I'm not quite sure. I thought that was going to do something different. So you have to excuse me. So I guess it was just filling with white, that's why. So I swapped that around, okay? So I don't use this stuff that much. I think that might be obvious, but we're just gonna show you that there's some cool little tools down here, okay? The next one is, Let's see, stroke path with brush. So that's actually cool. We're going to cover that next, but you can do it right here. What we have here, just in case you forget the shortcut like I did, load path is selection, okay? It just made it into the marching ant selection. Okay, we're going to undo that. And this one, let me see what that one is. Let's see, make work path from selection. So that one, let's go ahead and make a selection. This one is, you can change a selection back. So this would be going in reverse. So I just got the marching ants again. I got them back. You can go ahead and make a path now with that one. Okay, and this is stuff that we know about. Okay, so I thought that was cool. It was just, if you forget certain shortcuts, some of that stuff might be down there. You might want to explore some of that stuff as well. Okay. We're almost done. This is pretty quick. I hope you got some out of this. The last thing I find really useful is stroking the paths. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that document open one more time, and we're going to get out here to our layers, and we're going to start off new. A lot of times when I'm doing graphics, like say maps or whatever, if I'm making a photo and I want to put lines on it or something like that, you can go ahead and make whatever, you can make a curved line or whatever you want to, anything like this, just like we've looked at. And what you're going to have to do first, this is why it gets a little tricky, you're going to have to go over to the brush tool, and there's many different ways you can do this, but you're going to have to say, well, I want the line to be red, and I want it to be about so-and-so, and I want it to be this certain opacity, and I want it to be a really hard line and not a soft line. So we're going to get it red too, right? We wanted it red, and we wanted it a little bit smaller than this maybe, so we'll go ahead and we'll adjust the size of our brush. So we have such a little document here, but we'll maybe make it 1 pixel, maybe 2 pixels, okay? Something like that. That looks good. 3 pixels, okay? And we're going to go ahead and have to get the brush back, the pen tool back. The reason I just did that, because we're going to be using the brush tool on something right now. So we're going to get the pen tool back. We're going to press P, and I'm going to come over here and hold down Control and click on that. And you can see that little menu. Make sure you have the pen tool when you do this. And you're going to come down here, and you're going to say stroke path. And if you notice, we're going to go back and do this another way, because I saw over there you can do this from the paths palette too. And it gives you a bunch of options. So this is cool. You guys are gonna have maybe more use for it than me. Look, you can do all this stuff. You can stroke along that path with a pencil. You can stroke along that path with an eraser, whatever you want. But I set up so the brush, and if you watch this could be a photo right now, which I probably should have used a real photo, but I just thought it'd be clear to see all the lines. If I press OK, it's gonna go ahead and stroke that entire path that we set up with the red pen that we got, okay? And I'll undo that, and it looked like if we jumped over here, there was a little thing down here. Let me see if I can find it again. Stroke path with brush, yeah. So this one right here, the little circle, you can just, I guess we'll try it. It just, yeah, stroke path with brush. So, guys, I hope that was helpful for you. I use this stroking path all the time. Go ahead and leave a comment if you have a question. Sometimes I get through that stuff really quick, but maybe you can rewind and watch a couple of those sections again. I really feel like the only things you need to know for real estate photography are making those straight line selections and then turning them into curves like that at times by holding down the mouse. And then also you might want to hold down Command and go ahead and move your control points, okay, your anchor points or whatever they're called. I think they're called anchor points, okay? So I hope you got something out of that. It's a really cool tool, the pen tool. I would advise you to use it for everything, and maybe every once in a while you can use the polygonal lasso tool, but I think there's a lot more power and use in getting familiar with the pen tool, especially when you put it in conjunction with understanding paths, the paths tab, the channels tab, and saving your selections, right? Your marching ant selections, saving your paths, your original paths, by go ahead and double clicking out there and saving that path, and then heading back to layers, and that's it. That's pretty much all you need to know to have a really powerful system in using the pen tool, okay? So thank you for watching, everyone. Let me just jump out here, see, I'm not sure where it is. Darn it. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. We didn't get any questions, so I will see you for the next one, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.